And I remind entrepreneurs that this period is going to extract the best out of them and force them to build even better companies than if the challenge had been lower. So my name is Eric Benhamou, and I'm the managing director of a fund by my name, Benhamou Global Ventures. We call it BGB for short. We're based in Silicon Valley, but we have offices in Tel Aviv and in Paris and Bangalore, India, which is to say that we're very interested in cross-border companies, companies who really originate thousands of miles away from a main office. We believe that innovation and smart people are very, very distributed around the planet. And we think that being far away from Silicon Valley is a strong advantage today, particularly if you have access to local talent. We try to meet companies who are very early in the life cycle, we're early stage, which doesn't mean that we meet them as they get started, but shortly thereafter, which is when they have the first product and that captures the interest of a few customers. But for us, we want to see the technology working in almost finished form. And we want to be able to test customer reactions to it. We're comfortable taking all the risks associated with building the company from that point forward. But we do not want to also take the risk of the technology not working well. We stay with these companies all the way to an exit point. We're very passionate about building businesses. This is what makes the distinctive characteristic of our firm. Every one of us in the partnership has built companies, run companies, some of them quite large, so we know a fair amount about building technology businesses. And we want to make sure that we put this knowledge and this experience to work with our own entrepreneurs. Every one of us at BGB is an immigrant and a cross-border entrepreneur. So we have a visceral relationship with what entrepreneurs are going through, who start their businesses perhaps in France, perhaps in Israel, perhaps in India or elsewhere, and eventually come to Silicon Valley to build a business to a global scale. So this is our firm, and we're currently completing the fundraise of our fourth flagship fund, which is a $150 million venture fund. And we've already started to put it to work and have made a few investments earlier this year. And we will be building it up over the next few years. And I look forward to meeting a new generation of entrepreneurs. I'm excited at the opportunity. And despite the fact that all of us are working through this pandemic, I think that new companies will be born this year, which will be highly disruptive in the years to come. If you ask me about what to look for over the next decade, I really think that Enterprise 4.0 companies, startup companies, will be the dominating disruptive factor across all industries. It's a very central theme of our firm. And within Enterprise 4.0, artificial intelligence plays a central role. AI and machine learning in particular is a new technological force that leverages the fact that we now deal with so many different sensors, so at such low cost, that we're flooded with information. Transforming this information into insights, which in turn can disrupt businesses, is really the job of Enterprise 4.0 startups. And this is not specific to any particular vertical sector. Every single vertical sector will be disrupted at some point by Enterprise 4.0 concepts. Disruption is a popular concept. What we mean by disruption is a fundamental change in business economics or business model or value created by a startup. And when we say fundamental, we're not talking about incremental improvements. We're talking about orders of magnitude gains in value. And value is a concept that's relative to each industry. And we believe that harnessing the power of artificial intelligence will enable companies to achieve this disruptive effect. So for BGV, companies who are likely to succeed in disrupting the vertical sector have to combine a deep domain knowledge of the sector on which they're focusing with a fundamental mastery of AI technology. And they have to package all this into a full solution as opposed to just a component, because a component by itself doesn't do anything for the customer. It has to be integrated with other pieces to create a full solution. Enterprise 4.0 companies, by nature, are solutions oriented. These solutions can be deployed and produce an impact in the short term, meaning in a matter of weeks, if not days, as opposed to quarters and years. And that time effect, combined with the magnitude of the disruption, is what creates an interesting company that can generate venture return. So oftentimes I meet with young entrepreneurs who ask me for a piece of advice, and there's a lot that I could say, but I remind them that many times I have been tempted to give up and lose hope because things were not working out. My very first company, I started it in the middle of the oil crisis in the early 80s. And when I took my second company public, it was at a time when the IPO market was basically closed. And yet, with the combination of persistence and a strong team around myself, we were able to break through. I realized that this year is a unique year in history. We're all trying to get by through this pandemic, trying to get to the other side. And the temptation is often great to give up because the odds are so overwhelming. But this is really what makes the difference between true entrepreneurs and the ones who pretend to be. In the history of entrepreneurship, some of the best companies have been born in such a period. And I remind entrepreneurs that this period is going to extract the best out of them and force them to build even better companies than if the challenge had been low.